Down, down, down. Look, the covers of this book is our old friends, the sperm whale and the giant squid, battling again in the deep ocean, probably the Twilight Zone. Viewed from space, the Earth looks like a watery blue ball. Oceans cover more than 2/3 of the globe's surface, and well over half the planet lies beneath water more than a mile deep. We've explored only a small fraction of the oceans. In fact, more humans have walked on the moon than have visited the deepest spot in the sea. In this book, we'll descend from the ocean surface to the sea floor and travel through one of the most extreme environments on Earth. Along the way, we'll encounter some unusual creatures. You can find out more about these animals at the back of the book. Above the surface. Here, just above the surface of the western Pacific Ocean, the air is warm. Below us, gentle swells move across the water. It's calm now, but during a storm, powerful winds can churn the surface into mountainous waves. The Pacific Ocean is the largest body of water on the planet, with an area greater than all the Earth's dry land combined. But one thing that we've learned is that there's really just one big ocean. They're all connected. At this spot, the water is more than 13,000 feet or 4,000 meters deep. Most life on land is found in a zone only a few hundred feet thick, from the tops of the trees to just beneath the ground. The oceans, on the other hand, average 2.5 miles in depth. So the average depth of the ocean is 2.5 miles. They are home to the vast majority of living things on our planet. The water below us teems with life. Sometimes without warning, the creatures of this hidden world burst into our own. So we're kind of used to seeing these sort of animals. We're going to be going down. It's kind of like yesterday's book. Because, I mean, the book is called Down, Down, Down. Ooh, there's a shark. Out of the water, they may be pursuing prey, escaping danger, or sending a message to others of their kind. Whatever the reason, sea creatures sometimes leap from the water into the air. A huge shark, surging upward to grab its prey, lands with a splash that could empty a swimming pool. A small, sleek squid barely misses us as it shoots by, slipping back into the water with barely a ripple. Other creatures break the surface as well. There's a dolphin, flying fish. So some animals are right at the top of the ocean in the sunlight zone. It's a small world. Near the surface, the water is warm and brightly lit by the sun. Light-loving plants, algae, and bacteria, most single-celled and too small to see with the naked eye, are found here in uncountable numbers. We're talking about plants here. Almost all life in the sea depends on these microscopic organisms, which use the sun's energy to help them manufacture their own food. They themselves are food for billions of animals, including shrimp like krill. Krill and other small organisms that drift along with ocean currents are called plankton. So animals that drift along with the ocean currents are called plankton. Mackerel and other fish gather in enormous schools to feed on the plankton. Big fish eat little fish. At a depth of just 33 feet, the sunlight is already beginning to fade. The pressure is increasing. When we are above the surface, the weight of the air above our heads presses on every part of our bodies. This pressure isn't noticeable unless it changes, as when our ears pop in a fast elevator ride. Water is much heavier than air, and already the pressure has reached 2 atmospheres, twice what we experience out of the water. We're about as deep as most humans can dive without scuba gear. Life flourishes here. Large, fast-swimming predators eat smaller fish, herding them together into large swirling balls. Seabirds come, some capable of diving to depths of 220 feet, attack from above. Other animals feed on seaweed or jellyfish. Got tuna. There's a turtle. Oh, that's a cool looking animal. Filter feeders. Not all large fish are fast swimming hunters. Not all large fish are fast swimming hunters. Both the whale shark, the world's largest fish, and the gigantic manta ray feed directly on plankton. They strain tiny plants and animals from the water passing over their gills. These filter feeders follow swarms of plankton from the surface to depths of several hundred feet. Jellyfish and many other smaller animals are also filter feeders, trapping plankton with sticky tentacles or net-like antennae. So we're still in the sunlight zone. Jellyfish. Soft bodies. The light is fading and the pressure is now 10 atmospheres, 10 times as great as at the surface. Unlike air, water and other fluids don't compress much or get smaller under pressure. The bodies of most ocean animals are filled with fluid, so they don't have a problem with the pressure. Anything containing a hollow air-filled space, such as a human body or submarine, risks being crushed as it descends. Jellyfish are common here. Comb jellies, a family of soft-bodied transparent animals distantly related to jellyfish, are also plentiful. Jellyfish and comb jellies lack a brain, eyes, and a sense of smell. They have no brain. But they are efficient predators, capturing plankton and small fish with tentacles and sticky bodies. They rise from the depths at night to feed, returning to the safety of deeper water at dawn. That's a comb jelly. Visits from the deep. The twilight zone begins about 660 feet, 200 meters below the surface. From here on down, there is not enough light for plants to survive. Only animals live below this depth. To us, it appears completely dark, but many of the creatures here have eyes that are specially adapted to the faint light. There's barely any light. The sunlit waters with their rich variety of life are just above us. Animals that are rarely seen at the surface rise from deeper waters to hunt in the twilight zone. Got a goblin shark, oarfish, some eel. Nine out of every 10 animals that live below the sunlit layer of the ocean are bioluminescent. They can produce their own light. Animals use bioluminescence to lure prey, confuse, or startle attackers, or make themselves difficult to see. Animals also use light to attract a mate or send messages to one another. Because the ocean is so large and so many animals live here, bioluminescence is the most common form of animal communication on Earth. That's interesting. Only the slightest glimmer of sunlight reaches this depth, and only animals with extraordinarily sensitive eyes can detect it. It's the vampire squid. Siphonophore, hatchetfish. Oh, that's pretty. Lights out. We can see the animals living in these dark waters because we brought along a light of our own. Without it, we'd see nothing but blackness and the flicker and flash of animal bioluminescence. If we turn off our light, the scene on the previous page might look something like this. You just see the lights. It's snowing. We've reached the dark zone. So they call it the darkness zone rather than the midnight zone. Not even the faintest sunlight can reach us here. It's getting colder and the pressure is enormous. Few submarines can dive this deep without being crushed. All around us, a delicate marine snow is falling. It's composed of dead plankton, fish scales, animal waste, and bits of larger creatures that have died in the waters above. These particles are the basis of life here. Small animals feed on marine snow and become prey for large hunters. These animals eat marine snow, which is, some of it is just fish waste. That sounds kind of gross. Curiouser and curiouser. Animals that live in pitch black water have developed some unusual ways of defending themselves and finding prey. One deep sea shrimp squirts bright sticky goo into the face of an attacker. The hunter, lit up with glowing gunk and unable to hide, is likely to become a victim itself. Other dark zone creatures attract prey with glowing lures, like the anglerfish. The female hairy angler dangles her lure at the end of a stalk protruding from her head. She has a small fish attached to her side. It's the male hairy angler, which has fastened itself to the female with special teeth. Look how much smaller the male is than the female. Soon his body will fuse to hers. There he will remain, living off the female's body for the rest of his life. Strange. When do we eat? The water is very cold. We begin our descent in warm tropical water, but at these depths, the ocean is the same frigid temperature everywhere in the world. The pressure is so great that only a few research vessels can explore here. There are fewer animals to be found, and the ones that do live here may have to go a long time between meals. Unlike the large, fast-swimming predators of the sunlit zone, most animals here are small and need less food. They ambush their prey, waiting quietly for it to get close, then lunging and grabbing with long, sharp teeth. Some hunters have a stomach that can stretch to many times its normal size, allowing them to swallow an animal that is larger than they are. Can you imagine swallowing an animal that's larger than you? Like swallowing a cow or something? Okay, we're near the end, guys. Battle of the Giants. Oh, this is the cover. The sperm whale is the largest predator on the planet. Like all whales, the sperm whale is a mammal, and it must come to the surface to breathe. As it hunts for giant squid, its favorite food, the sperm whale dives deeper than any other air-breathing animal. When attacked, the giant squid fights back, and many sperm whales are deeply scarred with squid sucker marks. The fierce battle of these giants take place in total darkness, marked only by the bioluminescent flash of deep-sea comb jellies and other small animals. So in total darkness, there's this battle of sea monsters. I mean, they're not really sea monsters, but you can see why people might think they were a long time ago. If you saw that animal, you'd be like, what is that? Ooze. Oh, we've arrived at the bottom of the ocean. We've arrived at a flat, nearly featureless surface. It's the abyssal plain. Sediment and marine snow has drifted down from above for millions of years, forming a layer of ooze that may be thousands of feet thick. Thousands of feet thick of marine snow. Remember, that's like dead animals and animal waste and dead plants. A few are predators or scavengers, eating other seafloor creatures and larger animals that die and sink to the bottom. Rocky outcrops here and there in the mud provide a habitat for the sea lily, an animal that looks like a plant, and other creatures that attach themselves to hard surfaces. Soon we'll continue our descent. We have a long way to go before we reach the deepest part of the ocean. But first we'll investigate what looks like a city of smoking towers. Oh, I think we know what's coming up here. There it is. Turn up the heat. These structures are hydrothermal vents, sometimes called black smokers. The dark plumes are formed by minerals in the volcanically heated water. The water, which can be hot enough to melt lead, pours from openings or vents in the seafloor. The minerals in the water collect and form towers, some as tall as 10-story buildings. What? 10-story buildings under that down there, shooting up very, very, very hot. I think it's like 400 degrees hot water. Until recently, scientists believed that all life on Earth is dependent on sunlight. But now we realize that's not necessarily the case. So we have a little vent octopus, eel pout, vent crab. So it's its own little ecosystem down here, which Ocean Principle talks about the many ecosystems in the ocean. How low can you go? This is the final page. Here, the deepest spot in the sea, there is almost 7 miles of water above our heads. This is the Challenger Deep. It is part of the Marianas Trench. So the very deepest part of the Marianas Trench is called Challenger Deep, a seafloor canyon in the western Pacific Ocean. Humans have visited this place only once. That's not true, though, because James Cameron went also twice. In 1960, the U.S. research vessel Trieste reached the seafloor with 2 scientists aboard. The descent took 5 hours, but the men stayed on the bottom for only 20 minutes. Unmanned probes have explored the Challenger Deep on a few other occasions, but it is still one of the most remote places on the Earth. The pressure here is 1,100 times greater than at the surface, and the temperature is a constant 36 degrees Fahrenheit, so right above freezing. Even here, life can be found. Shrimp, worms, flatfish, and thousands of kinds of bacteria live in the ooze or just above the muddy bottom. It's time to return to the surface. The trip will take 2 hours. And except for the lights we've brought along, we will be in complete darkness until the last 2 minutes or so. Just about every time humans venture into the deep ocean, they discover new and unexpected animals because the ocean is 95% unexplored. Some scientists believe that we've seen fewer than half the large animals living in the sea. If we're lucky, we'll encounter some of these unknown creatures on a return trip. Can you imagine that? We've only seen half the large animals in the sea. What if there are other animals, kind of like these, that were just deeper down? That's the end of the book. Down, down, down.